for a change. Going live on YouTube. Now just give me moments to get our Facebook friends set up. Hope everybody's doing well. I want that. Awesome. All right. YouTube is live. Facebook is live. Looks like we've got some people starting to pop in over at YouTube. Here on Facebook, I just want to take a moment and welcome all of you to the wonderful world of Generation X, our weekly gab session. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Lucas, where we discuss all things pertinent to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the Gen X era we grew up in. What's going on, Lily? Good to see you. You got a shout out. What's going on, Quark E? Good to see you. LA is in the house. One of our first mods to pop in with Kristen as well. There's two. So looks like we're all good on the YouTube side of things. As you pop in on the Facebook side, make sure you all say hello as well. Kristen was firsties. Wow, better. What's going on, Asmodeus? What's going on? A couple things to talk about today. Number one, we'll give people a few minutes to jump in. Cindy Knight McMillan, hello, coming in from Columbus, Georgia. Tina's there. Tamara, hello. Good evening. Laura, hello. Miranda coming in from the Great White North up in Canada. You guys seen the videos? Have you seen the nightmare that has been my reconnecting with this monster? I hate this thing more than I ever remember hating it. There's a bunch of videos out now that are showing how to do it, and there's one specifically that I did a video on today that I think you do this, then you do this, and then you turn it, and you do that 8 times, and it's supposed to solve it by the 8th time. Dude, there is no easy way to do this. And then there's a very sweet, very popular young woman. Yeah, exactly. The Incredible Hulk video. Dude, there's no easy way to do this. And some of y'all are so awesome that you guys are going out of your way to send me videos, tutorials. I've got one person that sent me what looks like pages and pages and pages of dialogue as he's walking me through it. Everybody's telling me the stickers thing, the new ones, it's like it's plastic coated. Kristen, I get it. Everyone says take the stickers off. They don't come off. What's going on, Doreen? I can't get the stickers off. If only it was that easy. But that's what everybody says. Either take it apart or take the stickers off. It's also hard to get this thing apart. I threw it at the wall, and there is a decent-sized dent in my wall as a result of it, and it still didn't come apart. So those of you that can do this, I just want you all to know I have a special place in my heart, in my cold, dark Gen X heart, that I reserve all the hate in the world for you. Tammy, I absolutely threw it twice. Benjamin says take it apart. Dude, easier said than done. Andrew, Gen X Goonie in the house. Christine says take it apart. Dude, if you take them apart, the new ones, there's no putting them back together again. Lawrence, hello. I don't get it, dude. Do you remember like Walden Books? I remember at Walden Books buying for $9.99 this book that was supposed to like walk me through it 40 years ago. And I couldn't do it then. Wirehead says it took me a year to solve my first Rubik's Cube. I have no idea how I did it other than random twists and turns. Dude, again, the stickers don't come off on the new ones. I thought about that. And then, I mean, that's, Tammy says buy new stickers to put on it. The point is, I want to do it. I mean, this girl gets on and she is as sweet as the day is long. And she's like, the mystery is gone. I saw one video, and now because of that one video, one and done, I can now solve this. I've watched so many videos, and they like take you through these nonsensical steps. First, you do the white daisy, then you do the white cross. I hate this thing with a passion. Oh yeah, and then the little tease. I'll give you a tease. Hate it with a passion. Buy a new cube. Do they come solved, pre-solved? That's not a bad idea. Victor might have the right idea. That's not a bad idea, Victor. If they come pre-solved, I don't remember if this one was solved when I got it. But again, the point was to know how to do it. I thought it would be cool to know how to do it because there was always that cool kid that could do it in school. And I wasn't that cool kid. There was also a pyramid version. Yep, I had the pyramid. There was also the snake, black and white. I had the snake, which you would turn into a ball, if you remember that. Yeah, Jeremy's talking about the snake. Hey, Sherry, what's going on? Florida's in the house. I had the pyramid. I had the cube. I had the snake. There were more, and I could never do any of them. Chain one, I remember. That was the pyramid, right? The pyramid had the chain on it, I think. My cube was a dust collector. Now they made it more of a challenge. Yeah, David, I saw the new one. There's a Rubik's cage now that is like a group thing where you drop them in and try to do it. So they're always remaking it, I guess. I played with one as a kid, says Dom. It wasn't until a teenager I found out how I could make the goal. Tina says, I have to brag. I was so good at it. Solved it in a week. Oh, and that's the other thing. Elise, again, sweet girl, hate her guts. Sweet girl, hate her guts. She's like, I'm not a speedster. You have to give me a minute and a half. Really? 90 seconds? Yeah, whatever. Sweet girl, hate her guts. Not her specifically. Anyone that can do the cube. The only thing worse than the cube, maybe worse, that's better. Maybe just as bad, what's going on, Wendy Kerr, are those damn pretend pictures that were in the mall. The magic illusions. Do you guys remember those? Am I the only one that remembers shiny dinks? Shrinky dinks, maybe, Anthony? I remember those. Am I Cajun? No. Minute and a half F off took me a year. Yeah, the only thing more frustrating for me were the magic illusion posters. If you remember the movie Mallrats, I loved those movies. Absolutely. HD just said the same thing. Willem could not see into the images, and I'm the same way. And now they've come back. Like a lot of people, you can get them on your phone now. And I'll be sitting at the bar and people will be like talking. And about 2 weeks ago, there was this couple just sharing them with one another. And they're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Oh my God, this one is so beautiful. And they were just going back and forth showing how beautiful it was. Magic eye, my left eye, whatever. Well, yeah, it was called Magic Eye. You're right. I couldn't see it. I still can't see it. And it's just like Rubik's Cube. Once people know how to do these things, they try to teach everyone. You got to soft focus, or you've got to look past the picture, or you have to almost cross your eyes and then not cross your eyes, or you have to start really close and then back away. I've heard every single, Grace Marie loves them. I think you're all liars. There was no sailboat. I agree with Jim Burt's 1,000%. There was no sailboat. The sailboat didn't exist. Under no circumstances was there ever a sailboat. I think it's all just BS, personally. I think it was a big joke perpetrated upon us. I'm going to start pretending I see it too. Tammy says, I still have my pyramid Rubik's Cube. Really? Got to look for one of those. Slam a few Zimas and try looking at the image again. That might help. Magic eye can kiss my magic ass. I like that, Joseph. But it's funny how, like, in the 80s, we were coming up with stuff like this, right? There was a new something like every couple weeks. It was constant. There was something always just around the corner that was going to get our attention. That was going to be the next big thing. And it just switched and it changed. And it was Magic Eye one week. It was Rubik's Cube was the thing they have the next. It was the pyramid. It was the snake. We kept flipping through these things kind of as quickly as kids today are flipping through TikTok trends, whether they're supposed to dance or sing or lip sync. Hey, Deborah Mott, I see you. Hey, Ken Beal, Slinky. And they didn't have to be expensive. This wasn't expensive. JTR says the next big thing was sea monkeys and finger cuffs. Finger cuffs. Actually, was it Mallrats? No, it was another Kevin Smith movie. I think Chasing Amy. Anyway, not something we need to talk about in mixed company. But finger cuffs reminded me of it. Hey, Life on Two Wheels, good to see you. Luna, hello. James, hello. Clackers, Skip It. It was simple fun. It was little things. And they were cheap enough that almost all of us could get our hands on it, right? So it wasn't something so expensive like the later on the Ataris, that it created a division between the haves and the have-nots. These things that they were just simple, and everybody would bring them to school, and teachers would take them and keep them in their desk. And it continued for a while. It continued into the 90s. It even continued into the early 2000s, I think. It's smartphones that killed it. Because think about it, even in the 2000s, our kids were playing with Tamagotchis. There was something small, and it was all replaced by this. Because instead of being these little things, these slap bracelets, or, I mean, we could come up with so many of these different things. It became apps on phones that was the new thing. Have you downloaded this app? Have you downloaded that app? Are you on MySpace? Are you on Facebook? Are you on TikTok? Are you on Instagram? Apps became the new thing. But for us, Furby, that's a good one. Jarts, Pogs was a huge one. Pencil fight store, buying buying not ashtrays. We made the ashtrays. Buying the erasers shaped like cars, or the pencils with the NFL on. It held our attention longer than the apps of today. It did, Deborah. I agree. And although they weren't intended to hold our attention forever, Garbage Pail Kids, that's another one. It just was a great way to break the. Every kid got a chance to be a star for a minute. Because even if you weren't the coolest kid in school, if you were the first one that brought Pogs in and it caught fire, if friendship pins, it was able to, everybody got a moment, which is kind of cool. They were just a bunch of different trendy toys. Valerie puts it best. They were trendy toys. The slap bracelet's one of the biggest examples I can think of because it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't spending a ton of money on a thing. It was just a small something that everybody had to have. Even if it was nothing more than a goodie comb in your back pocket. All of a sudden, we all did it. We all decided to do this one thing. And I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. Yeah, in one sense, it was peer pressure and conforming. But in another sense, hey, Ton, good to see you. Tawny? Ton? Anyway, Tawny, Linnea, hi to you as well. Furbies are evil, they were possessed. Lola says my comb was pink. I think I had a white one or a black one. It was very basic. But it was inexpensive. Silly Putty was one. And I remember there was so much we could do with it. We could do the comic transfer. You could shape it. You could stretch it. You could turn it into a ball, and it was as good as any of the bouncy balls. Color changing pen. The 3 different tops as well. That was a big one. Green machine, yeah. But the green machine's a good example of something that was bigger. I wanted a green machine. I didn't get one. The things I'm talking about were stuff we all really could have, even if it was with our own money. It wasn't expensive. Getting the stuff to make friendship pins, even if you were part of a very small friend group, especially the girls would make the friendship pins and share them. What's going on, Carlos? Catherine Neal comes in with gummy toys, wonderful waterfalls with the rings inside. I remember people bring them to school. Red, white, and blue India rubber balls. Fortune tellers, the girls would make those. I could never figure that out. That was as difficult to solve as this. Band pins for jean jackets, absolutely Wirehead. Our jean jackets, I mean, pivoting a little, that was kind of like our Facebook wall. That was kind of like the wallpaper for a phone back then. It's what you put on to kind of introduce yourself to people. Whether you were the life's a beach kind of pin, whether it was Van Halen or Metallica, whether it was your favorite artist, whether it was just colors. Everybody's pins said a little bit about them. How about slam books in high school? I never knew any, and I was going to say girls. I never knew anyone that did it. Sarah Bumgardner, are you in the house? I think I just saw a text from you, but I don't see you popping up on my Facebook wall. Sometimes there's so many comments, I only get some of them, so I'm sorry, guys. Hey, Dawn, how are you? Ray says now it's completely black. Touching it brings out colors on the cube. Really? I haven't seen that one. Hey, there's also there is a Rubik's Cube you can get that's shocker all shockers, comes with a phone app you can download. And as you're playing with it, hey, there's Sarah. Everybody say hi to Sarah Bumgardner, the bestie that comes from the same hometown I do, that I work side by side with at the Hickory Tavern. If you guys ever go into the bar that I work in during the day, you'll see why I'm able to do the things I do at night, because Sarah sets me up like nobody else's business. But yeah, now these things come with an app, and then when you download it and connect it to your phone, it'll tell you to go right, left, and it'll actually put it for you. Am I in South Carolina, says Dr. Jekyll? I am. I'm about 20 minutes south of Charlotte. Sarah's also going to be the reason I can start going to more and more of these conventions, because if you all talk her into it, she might pick up some of my shifts, allowing me to go. Mood rings, that was a big one. I forgot about mood rings. There was mood rings, again, not expensive, easy to go. People would have them. Mine never changed out of black. Coming in from Gaffney. Actually, speaking of South Carolina, good a time as any to mention that on Friday, I will be heading to Greenville, South Carolina. It's only a couple-hour drive for me. So I'm going to be heading there on Friday, spending the night, and then staying through Saturday for the South Carolina Comic-Con. I'm a bit of a Trekkie. If you look behind me, you'll see some Star Trek memorabilia behind me. There is a Star Trek phaser right there. But Data, Brent Spiner was also in Independence Day. He played the professor. He's going to be there. So is Feathers in Your Hair. That's a good one. Came with a roach clip attached. And so is Jonathan Frakes, who was number 1 on Star Trek, The Next Generation. He also was in a few miniseries. He is married to Jeannie Francis, Laura, from General Hospital. He was in North and South. I think that's where he met Jeannie Francis. Patrick Stewart's not going to be there, but those two are. Dean Cain from Superman, Lois and Clark's going to be there. Just a bunch of people. So I am just really, really excited about going. If you guys happen to be in South Carolina, if you're close to Greenville, this isn't a huge convention. It's a smaller one, a little bit more intimate, a lot less expensive. So if you're into comic books, if you're into some pop culture, if you're in the area, you want to swing by, you want to say hi, you want to take pictures, you want to chat, I will be there both days. Sula Kotrides Sullivan has entered the chat over on Facebook. That would be my mother. Hi, Mom. I love you. I miss you. Ditto Jeans? I don't remember Ditto Jeans. Please come to Canada. I have first cousins in Toronto, so that might be possible at some point. I will stay tuned. I'm not sure. Tammy says, I don't think I would have enjoyed the Rubik's Cube as much as if I could have solved it. Oh, I'm betting I'm sure I would enjoy it more if I could have solved it. Mom, I hope you're feeling better. My mom was sick, a little bit of a cold, but she's doing better. Those of us that have our parents, that are still blessed at our age to have our parents, give your mom, give your dad a call. Those that don't, I'm sure you miss them as much as I miss my dad. Blessed to still have my mom in my life. She's incredible. There's some cool videos she does with me at times. Angela says, everyone be on your best behavior. John's mom is here. My mom was always the one that you didn't need to be on your best behavior. You could always have fun in front of my mom. You just couldn't be disrespectful. Yasumamatu Yani, I love it. Valerie says hello, Sula. My mom wasn't a cool parent. Okay. So growing up, she wasn't one of the cool moms. And by cool moms, I mean there were rules in my house. If you came as a kid to my house, you could not turn the house upside down. I couldn't have parties in my house. My mother wouldn't buy us beer and collect keys. And as long as we all stayed in the house, it was okay at 15, 16 years old. Any of those shenanigans had to go on behind her back. That's the kind of parent I had. And if I screwed up, well, then there was a consequence, which I'll be honest, might have made it more fun. Doing things that we did as kids when there was consequence, I honestly think might have made it more fun. I think about some of the kids that could do anything they wanted. I had those friends whose parents would drink with them. They were cool. They would smoke with them. My mom didn't do any of this. She was my mom first and became my friend second, much later. She had no interest in being my friend. Now that said, unlike a lot of our parents, I make fun of our parents not being around. My mom wasn't around, but we grew up in the diner. So if we wanted to see her, that's where she was. That's where my dad was. We would just go and see our parents at the diner, grab something to eat, work for a little bit, and then we'd go on our way. So she wasn't like right behind us, stay at home mom all the time. That came a little later. But I will tell you that if there was anything going on, I knew I could go to my mom. We didn't talk a lot about our feelings as Gen Xers. Most of our parents, most of the boomers, most of the silent gen, feelings were something that we were taught to kind of suppress. But my mom, God bless her, tried. If something was going on, she would try to get me to talk about it. What's going on, Terry? What's going on, Dawn? Catherine Neal, basically playing hide and seek with the parents. I snuck out of the house once. My mom's favorite story. I literally snuck out in the middle of the night one time and only one time. I had this party that I just had to be at. It was the party of the year. Everybody who's anybody was going to be at this party. And when I tell you I was nobody, this was like the make or break it. And to answer Sandy's question, I'm from upstate New York, Western New York, small town located a couple hours outside of Buffalo, between Rochester and Syracuse, right on the lake. And a lot of hey, Laura, shout out to new member, Mrs. Gooney. A lot of our parties were on the lake as a result of it, right on Lake Ontario. So I snuck out of the house, figuring, you know what, I'll take my chances. I propped open the window. I jumped onto the garage outside of my room. And from the garage, it was a short jump down to the ground, and I was off and running. Friends picked me up down the street, and I was gone. Party got busted up. State troopers always found them, sent us all packing, sent us all home. I get home, I close the window behind me, all is dark, all is quiet. You guys remember the feeling when we thought we got away with it? Remember how relieved you were when you got home and from outside you didn't see all the lights on because you really thought that you were going to pull up and all the lights in the house were going to be on and they were all going to be looking for you. And it's not like they could call you on the cell phone. It's not like they could track us on Life 360. So if you got home and the lights were off, you breathed that sigh of relief. You snuck in. You avoided the stair that made the creak. You avoided the door that wasn't oiled. You knew what to do to get quietly to your room. So I opened up the window and I climbed into my bed, into the darkness, ready to fall asleep. Life was good. Until I felt the hand clutch around my upper arm. And to this day, I still can see my mother's fingerprints. She'd gotten up. She had realized I'd been gone. She saw the window the screen was off the window. And my mom, being my mom, decided the smartest thing she could do was not waste any sleep, just climb into bed and wait for me to come home. So she put herself in my bed, went to sleep, and waited for me to come home. And when I tell you that it was my screams that woke up the entire neighborhood that week, I am not lying. She beat the living tar out of me. And to this day, I don't think she believes me when I tell her that's the only time I snuck out of the house. But I promise you that is the only time I ever snuck out of the house. One and done. It was, and you know what? At the end of the day, it was worth it. Remembering Civil War history, $2. Oh, coming in from the Finger Lakes. Very cool. I'm from Woolkit. So North Rose Woolkit High School, right along Lake Ontario. Dude, I got to give it to her. She got me. I don't think I've ever gotten my kids quite that good. We would just pace the house she wasn't nervous. She wasn't upset. She wasn't worried if I was okay. No, she just climbed into bed and went to sleep. But I still remember that hand on my arm. Her nails digging into my upper arm. Gen X US Marine, thank you for your service. Says I've been to Rochester before. Yeah, about an hour outside of Rochester. Real small town, Mayberry type small town. Everybody knew everybody small town. Everybody knew your business small town. Like at any of these parties when they got broken up, if the state troopers broke it up, it was Tom Connor. It was Hank Krasuki. It was just Steve Williams. My parents knew all of them. They all ate at our diner. Everybody knew everybody. So as soon as I even thought cops were coming to break up the party, I was hiding in the car. I was just out of sight, out of mind, because I knew that if I got away with it that night, then they would blow me in. The no, snitches get stitches only worked for us. When it came to the adults in our world, they told on us constantly. And that's the way it was. We were a generation that was raised without our adults directly in the room, but everybody else's adults were never far. What's going on, sci-fi book guy? Good to see you. Fellow Gen Xer and Buffalo Bills fan here as well. Go Bills. But that was it. My mom's sending hearts. Other people took care of us. I tell my kids, you'll never get away with what I did because of electronics. I didn't get away with a whole lot, if I'm being 100% honest. I mean, I got away with plenty, but the big stuff, I got busted. Thank you for the $5. The stuff, I guess the stuff I needed to get busted on, I got busted on because you just pushed it too far. I remember when I got older, like, I don't know, senior year. At that point, it wasn't much of a secret at 18 years old. My older brother was able to legally drink at 18. My parents owned a bar. I bartended at 16. So if I was responsibly drinking at 18 years old, I didn't think it was a big deal. My parents, however, still thought it was a big deal. So I remember if I'd go out, my mom would basically say that, okay, you bartend on the weekends till 2 in the morning. You do what you need to do for us as a family and as a business. So yeah, you can go, but no drinking, no smoking, behave yourself. And I'd get home and my mom would come down the stairs. She would wait about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, just long enough that she thought that I'd be asleep. So down the stairs she'd come. I'd hear the creaking stairs. I'd know what was coming. The door to my room would open and then I would hear her. Zani, are you home? Like, I'm right here. Obviously, I'm home. And then $4.99, It's a Football, the greatest space coasters, Muncho's potato chips. I love Muncho's chips, Top Gun. My absolute favorite. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. She would then proceed to put her face right against mine, sniffing for my breath to see if I'd been drinking. And, I can hold my breath for a good 2 minutes when needed. So she wasn't getting what she wanted. And eventually, when I couldn't hold it any longer, I would just roll over and force her to literally wake me up. What's going on, old school? I didn't do much. I didn't drink a lot. I didn't smoke at all in high school. That happened in college a little bit and beyond. I was your stereotypical good kid, but I promise you, if there was drink on my breath, if there was booze on my breath, if it was a night of Mad Dog Boone's Farm, if it was Cisco Liquid Crack, if it was Night Train or Thunderbird, if I'd been doing Rumplemints or tequila, I would roll over. And there was no way she was getting me back on the other side of it. And that's when she would try to have a discussion. Honey, let me talk to you. I'm like, Mom, I'm sleeping. And she'd eventually give up. But that was my mom. That is my mom. Tina Thacker, you single mom? Now, my dad would stay upstairs sleeping. He's the one that predominantly worked even more hours than my mom, although she put in more than her fair share. But it was my mother that was the disciplinarian. It was my mother that, for the most part, raised us. Mom ran the house. If you saw my big fat Greek wedding, the husband, the father, is the head of the house. But the woman is the neck, and the neck can turn the head any way she wants. What's going on, Blister Bill? Who has some MD 2020 for the chat? I still have that bottle right there. Right there, that orange bottle at some point. Mary Andrea Stambolini Cox just wanted to say, I'm glad I worked a split shift today in seconds so I could be here tonight. Oh, I'm glad to have you here. Never the drinking while in school. I did a little bit, but fear kept me pretty straight. I don't know if your kids are afraid of you. I think mine have a healthy fear of me. Doesn't mean there's not love there, but there's fear. And I had fear of my parents. I was afraid of them. I think a lot of us were afraid of our parents. And something changed generationally where I think younger millennials, definitely Gen Z and gentle parenting, that fear is something that is not viewed as a good thing. But I swear to God, if didn't have the fear that I had of my parents, I probably wouldn't be alive today. I did a lot of stupid things in spite of that fear. I can't imagine what I would have done without it. Got busted by my mom leaving a dance early, told my dad, and came looking for me. Oh my God. That level of fear is something we just don't have anymore. Do you remember when you found out you got busted by your parents but haven't seen them yet? Like when you were somewhere you weren't supposed to be, and then that friend showed up and they're like, dude, your parents are looking for you. Your parents are looking for you. Are there six scarier words in the English language? At least for a Gen X kid, for a boomer kid, your parents are looking for you. And usually it was followed by, ooh, you're gonna get it. Life happens, says I fear daddy, not mom. I was afraid of both. Jose said wimp. Who, me? Dude, my mom's tough. My dad was tough. That's not being a wimp. Lori says I drank from 17 on. Roxana says I was afraid to get caught doing something wrong. Sci-fi book guy throws out the wait till your father gets home. We'd get that once in a while. If it was too bad for mom to deal with, then it's wait till your father gets home. That's when me and my older brother, by the time my younger brother came along, my parents were tired. We'd warn them out. But my older brother and I, if we heard wait till your father gets home, we tried to go to bed by like 7. Convinced that if we were asleep in a dark room, maybe he would leave us alone. Maybe it was enough for him that we were sleeping and he was tired and it just wasn't worth waking us up. And most of the time that's true, unless my mother was really angry. And then she would get him to wake us up. Roxana says mother was worse. Is anyone in the chat not drunk? If y'all are drunk, I'm a little jealous. I don't have that many high school drinking stories, says Kevin. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? College is another story altogether. I drank a hell of a lot more in college, for sure. For sure, for sure. But the college drinking, let's just say I was a little bit more experienced. The high school drinking is more of the bed spin stories, although early college has a few of those as well. Did I ever get spanked by a willow switch? No, my mom used whatever was nearby. She didn't very often procrastinate by needing me to go get something. She had ornamental horse brushes sitting on the wall just so she could grab them and use them. She would use her slipper, her shoe. She would use a brush. She would use a wooden spoon. Whatever. She would use her hands. I don't know how it didn't hurt. But we all got hit. We all got hit a lot, early and often. I joined the Marines right after high school. Appreciate you so much, Gen X US Marine. Ton of boot camp stories. Can't even imagine. Razor strap, Hot Wheels track. I threw out my own Hot Wheels. I got hit with that thing once and realized this didn't need to be in the room. Anybody remember the cartoon 70s Wait Till Your Father Gets Home? Really vaguely. I had to look it up. And I remember it being a thing. I just don't remember any of the episodes. I was just a little too young. Every whipping I got, I earned, says William. I earned most of them, and if I got one that was more or less a drive-by shooting, meaning it wasn't me, that I wasn't really the intended target, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, then my mother liked to say okay, when she finally found out I wasn't deserving of the spanking, she goes, it's okay, you did something I didn't catch, we'll use that for you. Try and explain to your mom that you lost your new glasses in the woods smoking pot. I remember having to take my glasses off, like in gym class. I broke them a few times too many, and I'm blind. My eyes are pretty, but they're also pretty useless. Good to have you back, Mary. Sorry you got dropped. If ever you guys are having an issue on Facebook, we also live stream the exact same show over on YouTube. Pop back and forth, whatever works best for you. Quark says, I like your mom. Kevin says I had a phone thrown at me. I had scissors thrown at me once, and I didn't know it was my brother, actually. My older brother, because he was running down the porch out the street, just like getting away from her. And I think out of frustration, I don't think she realized what she was grabbing. Because after they flew, I turned to her and I'm like, you threw scissors at him. And I thought I saw the glimmer of oh, I didn't mean to do that in her eye for a minute. Metal Tonka truck. That's cool. Never a hug, never an I love you, says Jennifer. To this day, it physically hurts her mouth to say I love you. Maybe it's the Greek thing, maybe it's the old world thing. I don't know, but I got told I love you early and often, over and over again. Thank you, Crystal, for joining on YouTube. Appreciate you for becoming an honorary extra, supporting the page. I don't know. My parents said it to us all the time. My dad too. So even my father, who was a tough 1926 era silent gen guy, told me he loved me all the time. I got lots of kisses, lots of hugs, to the point that it was embarrassing. I remember being embarrassed as a kid, but it didn't matter. It didn't stop them, and they kept doing it until we stopped being embarrassed by it. If our friends got in trouble, so did we. We'd get a head slap from their mom, then we had to go home and get it by our own parents. Dude, that's the truth. Wirehead, thank you for gifting out memberships. Love to see the family grow. What we're talking about now is just like Facebook has a membership, you guys can subscribe to the page. Just a monthly cost on Facebook. I think it's like 99 cents a month. YouTube has different things as well. Just a way to subscribe, support the page. Appreciate it either way. Looks like Facebook has set up a goal of 250 for me. I'm at 225. We are 90% complete. If 25 of you as you join, or if you're watching after the fact, decide that 99 cents a month is something you're willing to throw at the page, have at it. Maybe we can get there. I don't know what we get. I was always told I love you. That's the Italian thing. Yeah, it was the European thing. It was the Greek thing too. I know it was a French thing. I've got Hispanic friends, Latino friends. They're very much the same way. Good night, John. Thank you for popping in. Your dad, wow, I'd kill to have a love you from mom and dad. Oh, yeah, any elder was allowed to hit us. The rule was that if an adult knew your name, that was reason enough for them to be able to put hands on you. But again, I will say my mom, if somebody really, they better have had a good reason. If they put hands on us with reason, my parents were okay with it, although they would rather be the ones doing it themselves. But my dad went to school and told my teachers, if you need to smack him around, if he earns it, give it to him. And then tell me and I'll give it to him again at home. Also an African-American thing. It's cultural. A lot of this stuff is cultural. Here's something I've been meaning, batting around in my head. Marie Clayton, hello. Batting around in my head for a video. And it's the fact that we kind of live in this world now where people don't agree on stuff. We live in a really, really divided world. Especially, I'd say it's worldwide. I see the left and the right dividing across the entire scope of the world today. And we had differences of opinion growing up as well. But the thing that I just keep thinking is the only reason I disagree with someone is that I lived my life, not theirs. My opinions, my morals, my sense of self, the things that I believe, the things that I feel, the things that I think, all come from a lifetime of experiences that have shaped who I am. And the reason I believe what I believe and you believe what you believe is that your experiences are different. Had you walked every second of your life in my shoes, we would be the same person because you would be me. Now, growing up as Gen Xers, the reason a lot of us enjoy this page, enjoy the content, enjoy this live, is we have a lot of those shared life experiences. But even within our group that is so cohesive, they're not all the same. We see it today. Someone's saying, well, I grew up black, I grew up Hispanic, I grew up Latino, but when we come together for an hour at a time, we put them aside. We don't talk about it. We leave it alone, and I think we're better for it. But I don't want a video that would ever make people argue in the comments, but I wish I could address it because I think we're better when we allow people into our lives based on our shared experiences, not our differences. Because I think we become better people, and then we can share that part of us that fits. But everything I have to give you may not fit with everything you need to receive. So just take what you like and leave the rest behind. But I just see, Miranda puts it perfectly. You can be friends with people of different scopes. Take what you want. And you know, you may be so different that I get that you can't be friends with everybody. But I'm seeing people in my private life, in my personal life, letting family members go because of a decision in a voting booth, which, in all honesty, is nobody's business but the person casting the vote. I just would love to see us be the driving force of saying, you know what? I hate your opinion on that. I couldn't disagree more vehemently. It kind of, I can't even imagine how you got to that. But we've been friends for 20 years, and I get that in order for you to feel that way, you have your reasons, I have mine. What do you want to do tonight? You want to go grab a drink and just leave it? Just leave it. The hardships we endured, Jed says, taught us empathy for others. Yeah, for an apathetic generation, we certainly have a whole lot of empathy, don't we? And we've talked about it here. We have a whole lot of empathy because We Are the World was actually filmed this week, back in 1985. It's a March thing. And we grew up watching that. We grew up watching Farm Aid and Live Aid and Jerry Lewis telethons. We all saw Sally Struthers showing us what was going on with kids in Africa and how they were starving with flies circling around their food and their bloated, empty bellies. And empathy was bred into us. And a lot of my older boomer friends will say, well, we were the boomers that ran Live Aid, that ran Farm Aid. That was us. And I give them all the credit in the world, but what they're not quite getting when they make that comment is they did it. We grew up being spoon-fed it. We were children. That's how we were formed. And I think that's what gives some of us empathy. Nathaniel Andrews says, hey, John, lost a few friends due to my voting decision. No one will ever know how I vote. And the reason I know that I must be doing a decent job of really not caring to let anyone know is I will get DMs. Honestly, I wish it would stop, but I get hundreds of direct messages every single day. Half of them being the most ultra right-wing stuff you'd never want to see, and half of it being the most ultra disconnected, way out in left field stuff you might not ever want to see. I've got both sides convinced that I'm in their corner. So I must be doing something right. But it's on a national, it's important. The way I feel politically is important to me. To the very few close people in my life that impact that decision. But that's it. Thank you, Brian. Take care, buddy. Thank you for popping in. I had friends from different races, religions, sexual orientations, and nobody gave a shit. That's the way it should be, and it's okay to give a shit. It's okay to disagree. Really, disagree. You should. Because if you can't have even a little impact on your friend, that's why you're there. That's why you should stay there. That's why we need to be around each other so that we can have this impact on one another. But I was watching a Wonder Years episode. My daughter and I are up to the 6th season now. We're almost done with it. And Kevin asked his dad how he voted, and he said, you know what? There's a curtain on the door. Once I enter that curtain, it's between me and God. I'm like, okay. It was considered impolite to ask. Never ask someone how they voted, and never ask a woman her age. Two things you were never able to do in the 70s or 80s. Jennifer says, I got a short story. I'm in the audience when MTV filmed Love Song. Great night. They lived close to us. Tulsa from Folsom, California. Hey, Raylene Riggs, good to see you. Putting a 3.5-year-old granddaughter to bed. God bless. Do you remember Hands Across America? Deborah Mott sells a t-shirt from it. That's pretty cool. That was the cool stuff, though. I mean, that had an impact on us. Yeah, we're the whatever generation. We don't let things get to us too much, only to a certain point, and then we turn it off. But we are a contradiction in terms on so many levels, that being just one of them. Sheila goes, I've been called ugly names for my political views, but who cares? I'm Canadian. Don't talk politics here right now. It is what it is. Yvette says, I care, but I don't. Well said. Or when she is due. Eric, facts. I remember in college, I was probably 18 or 19 years old, and the woman who cut my hair at the, whatever it was called back then, basically the equivalent of a Supercuts, was pregnant. And I just remember going and she'd be pregnant. And I would go to get a haircut and she'd still be pregnant. I'd go to get a haircut and she'd still be pregnant. And I remember at one point I went in to get a haircut and I thought I'd be funny. And also I was trying to empathize and relate with her because for the love of God, all that is holy in this world, I swear to you, I thought I couldn't imagine that she'd had the baby because she looked. I just didn't have the life experience to know that not all women's bodies snap right back like a rubber band when they have the baby. So I said to her, as she's holding my hair in one hand and her scissor in the other, man, if you don't have this baby soon, you're going to explode. And she just looks down for a second and says, I had the baby 4 weeks ago. So that was the end of it. Face Shelly Clemens. That was lesson learned. I don't know why it took me so long, but that was the end of it. That was the last time I ever said anything first about a woman's pregnancy. They could be never. I don't. I've had women after the fact when I would just be. They're like, you didn't notice that I'm pregnant? I'm like, I don't say anything. I wait for you to say it. Lesson learned. Shannon says, I still have the paper that showed what number I was for Hands Across America. I'm pretty sure my town might have been where that broke. There were certain breaks in the chain, and I'm pretty sure the group of us that signed up, volunteered for our school to go, ended up not going. So we may have been the break in the chain. No apologies needed. No political stuff in the. And I brought it up. It's my fault, but I try being a. Oh, Quark. That's tough. I was asked when I was due, when I wasn't. Yeah, we all need to learn to shut our mouths when it comes to that. It's a lesson I finally learned. Took me a minute. Crystal Pepsi. I didn't like Crystal Pepsi. Something about the eyes brain connection. When I see something, I taste it, and seeing it as clear made it taste different. So it didn't taste Pepsi, even though the taste was supposed to be almost the same, just without the caramel coloring. I didn't like it, but it was pretty cool looking. But that's another thing that constantly was changing. So like these that kept coming, and we'd have the pyramids and the snakes and the whatnot. Pop culture was changing quickly throughout the 70s and 80s in terms of Coke to New Coke to Pepsi to Crystal Pepsi to Pepsi Free to beer, whether it was dry beer or ice beer or ultra. They just kept coming at us with new stuff all the time. There was always something around the corner that was new and exciting. And now all of that has been replaced with like electronic new stuff. But for the life of me, I don't see as many, for lack of a better term, like marketing campaigns the way they were. There was always something new coming, constantly. Catherine Neal says Crystal Pepsi did not taste like Pepsi. I wonder how much of it didn't taste the same and how much of it our brains didn't compute as the same because it didn't look the same. Felt like we were guinea pigs back then. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate that. Go Bills. 7-Up has taken a huge backseat to Sprite, and 7-Up was huge when we were growing up. Crisp and clean with no caffeine. Never had it, never will. Remember that? Do I remember the day when disco died? Somebody on a plane? Because I remember that's the day the music died. Cherry 7-Up was good. What was it called? I think it was called Cherry 7-Up. Pretty sure you nailed it, but I think it was Cherry 7-Up. Richard Chamberlain died today. Hey, Rhoda. Yeah, I made mention of it on my page earlier today. He was 90 years old, would have been 91 tomorrow. Richard Chamberlain, king of the miniseries. Shogun. How many of us stayed up late watching the Thornbirds? I know a lot of girls commented, a lot of women commented. They swiped their mother's copy of the Thornbirds book and read it long before they ever should have been reading that stuff. But I commented that those miniseries were basically a testament to just how small, quiet, and nearly invisible young Gen Xers were able to make ourselves at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Because as long as we stayed quiet, a lot of us, parents didn't want to put us to bed. They're watching TV, they're comfortable. As long as you stayed quiet, didn't fight with your siblings, and were close enough to TV to adjust the volume, change the channel, or mess with the bunny ears if it got staticky, they let us stay up. They didn't care what we were watching. At least my parents, and that's a lot of what I hear from other people. So we watched Shogun, we watched the Thornbirds, we have those memories. And even though we were children. Oh, I do remember Slice, Deborah, and I absolutely remember Jolt Cola. I'm reading that in the comments. I'm actually from Rochester, New York, where Jolt Cola was developed. Orbit Soda, I don't remember, but it's been messaged on both Facebook and YouTube today. We had to watch what my mom watched. Dallas, Falcon Crest. Yeah, that was the deal. One TV in the house meant we were watching what our parents were watching, or we were outside, or we were in our rooms, or we were in a bath, right? Just it's bath night, so go take a bath. While my mom would watch Dallas or Falcon Crest or her television programming while we were pruning up in the bathtub. The water had long since gone cold, waiting for her to come in and finish the waterboarding. That was basically our bathtub routine. Man, that bucket of water that we had, like an old big Tupperware bowl that had long since left its burping top, and my mom would just use that to dump water over our heads to wash off the cheap generic version of No More Tears shampoo, which was like acid in the eyes and all about the tears. Waterboarding at its finest. I kind of like Dallas too. I can tell you almost every plot line on Dallas, but I think part of that is I might have watched it again as in my after I watched it as a kid. Why did Fruitopia disappear? I don't know. Mr. Bubble Soap? That's not the bubbles we had in our tub. Who shot JR? You answer your own question. Let's see who remembers. I remember. I know who shot him. I know why. I know how. Remember all of it. Civil War coming back, another $5 donation. Dude, thank you so much. My son asked me a couple of years ago if I had a TV remote when I was a kid, and I said yes. And he said, what did they look like? And I said, you. We did have the Zenith Astro Space Command, but it was a clicker. And if you guys don't remember why sometimes, Kristen, yes, Kristen, since he got it, it was in fact Kristen. If you guys don't remember why we sometimes, no, it was Sue Ellen's sister, Kristen, that shot JR because she was having an affair with him. A little bit of trivia. Quirk, she says that she still calls it a clicker. So the reason we call it a clicker is the Zenith Space Command was one of the earliest non-attached remote controls. The earliest ones came with a cable that was attached. But the clicker used sound. There were no batteries in the remote control. If you look up Zenith Space Command, it's pretty interesting. Wirehead, I just paid $52 Canadian for two 12-ounce bottles of Jolt. Dude, they brought it back. I knew they were. I'm going to have to run out and get some. The way it worked, and thank you, dude, for the couple bucks. Really appreciate you. The way it worked was on sound. There were rods within the TV that correspondingly heard the tone of the clicker. And depending on the tone, it raised the channel up or brought the channel down, muted the volume or turned the TV off. And that's all it could do. Channel up, channel down, mute, and on off. And there were no batteries because Zenith said that they were afraid if the batteries ran out, people would blame the television for why it wasn't working. And back then there were TV repairmen, and they were afraid that all of their customers would call the TV repairman, incurring expenses for the repairman to come out, and it would in fact be the batteries in the remote that were at fault. So they created a remote control that simply worked on sound. I think that's pretty damn cool. I don't know. I think that's neat, but that's why we call it a clicker, because it clicked. Dallas had the better theme music. I think they all had good theme music. Dallas was iconic for sure, but I can still hear the Knots Landing sound in my head. I can definitely still hear Dynasty big time. If you were playing Pit, the bell would turn the TV on and off. Really? That's cool. Hit the right tone. How did you adjust the volume, Eli? You yelled at your kid to get up and turn it up, to turn the volume up or down. It was a twisty thing. Remote control did not do it. And like I said, it could only go, people are like, oh, you couldn't go directly to the channel. Well, it wasn't that big a deal. We had 3 or 4 stations, and most of them were a couple off of each other. My grandmother had a console TV. If you go to my Facebook or even my YouTube page under the posts, I got a picture that I found of myself. And my TV's in it. It's off for some strange reason. One of the few times our TV was off, but I'm sitting in the family room that you will all recognize as your family room too, probably. And the TV's off. I've also got a ton. If you guys want to see pictures of my formative years, what I looked like as an infant, as a young child, me and my brothers, If you want to see how I developed into high school and beyond, go to genxjono.com. I actually have my own webpage now. I'm adding blog posts to it every day. genxjono.com, and there is a section called the formative years. You can see a bunch of photos. I think it's pretty cool. Pictures of me bartending at 17 years old at my parents' bar. Oh, that's funny. Pandora's talking about the rabbit ears and the parents yelling, "Wait, that's it. Don't move." It's exactly where I need it. And Lola said the same thing over on YouTube. Dad saying, "Don't move while holding the ears." I like Waylon Jennings' theme to the dude. Agreed. I love it too. Cooked at a bar at 15. I was bar backing. I was working bar rush overnights on Fridays and Saturdays. The restaurant was open 24 hours from Friday till Sunday. And I would do the overnight bar rush. I was busting tables at like 10. I would stay overnight with my mom from midnight until 6 in the morning every Friday and Saturday night, and I loved it. Thank you, Eli. I appreciate it. I just, somebody asked me if there was a genxjono.com, and I said there wasn't. And then I realized that I probably should do that before somebody else did it for me. Not that I'm big enough that I think anybody would do that, but still, I feel pretty stupid if somebody grabbed the domain. So I figured I might as well do it. And then once I did, started having fun putting stuff on it. There's a calendar there, which I'm going to keep updated, letting you all know where I'm going to be physically. I'm going to try my way of meeting all of y'all. I'm not a Gen X takeover kind of guy. I don't necessarily feel like doing stand-up. It's not my thing. I don't think I'm funny. But for now, I'm just going to go to these different conventions. It worked great at MegaCon. I met dozens of you in Orlando. And I'm just going to try to get to as many of these as possible because more and more, these Comic Cons are turning into pop culture cons with celebrities that I think are cool. C2E2, I just got approved for LA. I don't know if I can make the trip up. They approved me for passes. Maybe. It's just a long trip. And it's coming right on what are the dates again? Because I'm going to South Carolina Comic-Con this weekend. I'm going to Dallas May 1st through June 3rd. And I think C2E2 is April 11th through 13th. So it's back-to-back weekends. So I don't know if I can do back-to-back weekends. Plus the flight to Chicago is a bit expensive. And I'm not talking to Molly Ringwald, as Kevin is mentioning. She's going to be there. We have this thing going on right now, so I don't know. Not really. Not really a thing. Live stream from Comic-Con? I'm sure I will. I was allowed to live stream entire panels from MegaCon. I appreciate that, Kaner. How dare I? How dare I what? Oh, Molly? Dude, I tried to talk to her. I was having a quite pleasant conversation with Anthony Michael Hall, Mike, as he's known by his friends. Tried to call over Molly Ringwald. It's like, Molly, you got to come look at this. We were showing him something, and she didn't even pause to look my way. Just strolled right on by. Maybe she didn't hear him. Maybe she didn't see me. Wirehead says maybe she had to pee. That's all. He did. He rolled his eyes. Dude, it's got to be tough. I can't imagine it. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I don't know about that, Angela Blackburn. She had to get some sushi to eat. I might have more Instagram followers. I doubt it. More than Anthony Michael Hall, but he doesn't do social media. Breakfast Club still gets me. It's one of my absolute favorite movies. He did go from geek to hunk, if I do say so myself. She was meeting Bender. Hey, I played the part of Bender. If you guys are on Instagram, head over to the AARP page or head over to my Instagram page. I have it there as well. But they got a bunch of us creators to play different parts of the Breakfast Club, and yours truly got to be Bender. We did the iconic lunchroom scene. I got to throw the can of Coke right from this chair, as a matter of fact. It was a lot of fun to put together. I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas for 3 days, Lisa. We're going to be there for the Fan Expo. May 30th, 31st? Is there a 31st in May, guys? April, May, March, yes. April, no. May 31st, June 1st, June 2nd. Do you guys ever do the thing? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, to know which date has 30 and which has 31? This is pre-app. This is how we did it. 30th is the end of May? January, February, March, April, May. No, May has 31. Well, if you can get out to the Fan Expo, Tanya, I'm not going to be alone. I'm actually going to be joined by, if you follow Gina Bobina, Gen X Gina Scott Williams, also on Facebook, also on Instagram, also on YouTube. We're going to be hanging out together. Don't get too big to leave this platform, dude. Could never actually happen. Could never actually happen. Number one, I don't see myself ever getting too big, whatever that means. And even if I did, it's just not in my nature. My favorite is Rob Lowe. I don't know if I have a favorite. I like Rob Lowe. I like Ali Sheedy. I did see the Breakfast Club panel at MegaCon. All but Emilio Estevez were there. I don't think it still could, Tara, but listen, I've got my kids to keep me humble. I remember when we were at Disney World and got greeted by a lot of people. Where's Cleo? She is actually studying for a test, which is why I've got to end this momentarily. We're at the hour because I told her I promised her I would help her with her studying and quiz her now for a half hour before bed. Oh, Common Sense, happy birthday. Everybody wish Common Sense University happy birthday. 2 hits hitting you. You hitting the floor. Me hitting you. You hitting the floor. Don't mess with the bull, young man. You get the horns. Let's go, Bills. Stacy, good to see you, sweetie. Goonies 2 is a full go with the original cast. Oh, that is my daughter calling me, letting me know it's time to jump downstairs because it is 9 o'clock. So I got to go. Listen, I will repeat for those watching South Carolina, Greenville this weekend. I will be at the Comic-Con in South Carolina, Greenville. Today, I will be there April 5th and 6th, Friday and Saturday. If you're anywhere nearby, Bridget, thank you so much for the $5. Put us over $20 on the live. Thank you so much. Come say hi. If you're even close, I'm driving 2 hours to be there. Would love to see you. Then the next nearest one that is a definite go is going to be Dallas Fan Expo. And then finally, check out the link tree. I've got a new merch store you can look at with a lot of cool stuff. And you can always go to genxjano.com to keep up with everything I'm doing. Guys, thank you so much. Be good to each other. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. All of that good stuff. Have a totally awesome week. And I will see you guys soon. Peace. 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickle, onions on it. Now I want a Big Mac. Bye, Sheila. Bye, guys. Stacy, I'm glad I saw you for a minute. Jill, have a good week. Erica, bye. Peace.